The thing that is difficult for me is that a lot of these opinions seem to have the underlying story, which is that the 49ers are in some way evildoers. They want bad things. They want bad things for Trey Lance. They're purposefully making it hard for him. You can be excited about Trey. They were obviously excited about Trey. We all know who the starter is as of now. That's no longer an opinion piece. Who should they start? Well, Brock Purdy is their starter. We'll see where that goes from here. But the whole thing, and I know this, we said this earlier, you and I, Dibs, we live in a sports media echo chamber, so we hear a lot more of this than Bob the accountant or whatever. So
Joan and payroll.
Maybe I'm overly sensitive to it, but the Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Brandon Allen conversation so far, after less than a week of it's gotten nasty. It's gotten nasty to the point where it spills into the media room where the questions are being asked, which I think more often than I'm comfortable with ends up spilling into the quarterback room. I'm not saying the media shouldn't ask the pertinent questions. They should. But I also don't think that questions should be as leading as they often are. When Trey Lance is in front of the microphone right now, it sounds like someone wants to make him cry. It does.
Well, they're hard questions that have to be asked.
And they have to be asked, but I don't know if you just need to find a new way every day to be like, so you were the third overall pick, and a year ago you were the starter, and now you're battling your butt off for the 2 job, and they won't get rid of this 4 guy who keeps it. It's like, what are you trying to get him to say? I hate the Niners?
You're trying to get him to say something other than I'm just trying to take it one rep at a time.
Not going to happen.
Well, and that's the nature of all of these press avails. It's July, for crying out loud. What's he supposed to say? I mean, Brock Purdy could have a setback, or Trey Lance could get traded, or, there's a lot of different things that could play out between now and the Pittsburgh game, and none of these things Trey Lance can control. All he can control is taking it one rep at a time and just trying to get better each and every time he's called upon to do what he does. So in many ways, a lot of this is just nonsense. It's created to be nonsensical because they ask him questions that he can't possibly answer. He's not going to be honest with his feelings. And I'm rooting against Brock Purdy, and I hope Sam Darnold bumps his head when he falls asleep tonight. And he can't say what people want him to say, so it just becomes a cliche fest.
I don't even know if he feels those things. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if Trey's mad at the 49ers.
I would imagine he's probably not. And you said something earlier about fans saying, "Oh, Trey should want to be out of here." I wonder if Trey isn't content being here.
I wonder.
And playing in a system that he's now comfortable 3 years in. Reports are he looked really good today. For the first time in his career, he's healthy. Remember, as a rookie, he had the finger issue, which affected the way the ball came out. And last year, he had a broken leg, so he was unable to come back and play then. So for the first time, he's healthy, and he's playing in a system for the 3rd year, and he's playing for a guy who knows his stuff in Kyle Shanahan.
Here's a question for you, because I've heard this now. I've thought this, and I've heard this come up a couple of times. The overlap that we always do situationally is Trey Lance and James Wiseman. Okay, what about Trey Lance and Jordan Poole? Let's talk about that for a second. Because while the situations are completely different, I'm starting to hear some of the same words used. Remember Jordan Poole all year long? It was slander. This is slanderous. And this word is starting to now come up with Trey Lance. If you don't like one of his throws at practice, the slander, the coverage, my gosh, all these people, you don't want Trey to succeed. That's clear. And now Trey should want to be traded. Did we not have that conversation with Jordan?
Yeah.
I wonder if he wants to be traded. Well, we got to a point with Jordan Poole where it changed from slander and wondering if he wanted to be out to, oh my gosh, turns out everything that we put out there was real. It was all real. The team was mad at Jordan, and Jordan, I'm sure, was thrilled to get the hell out of town. I find those two things, they couldn't be more different. They couldn't be more different. In this particular case, I think we're heading down a road that is manufactured, and I think that it borders on the potential of becoming unnecessarily toxic. I don't think a lot of what we're putting in this situation exists for the 49ers, in other words.
Exactly, for Trey Lance.
It exists away from the 49ers among the people who talk about them and think about them.
Right, and it's mainly the fans and the narratives that are out there about all these guys like Brock Purdy. Well, the Niners rushed him back, and they rushed him back because he's hearing footsteps from Trey Lance, and he knows that Sam Darnold is here now, so Brock Purdy rushed back to make sure he could keep the gig. And they brought in Sam Darnold because the team has no faith in Trey Lance. And so they brought in a guy to be QB2 because they've given up on Trey Lance. And if you're a Trey Lance person, they've given up on our guy Trey Lance. And it's slander what people are saying out there about the way he's throwing the ball and he's throwing it into the ground and all the rest of it. So depending on what you think as a fan, the narrative that you want to believe in, it's out there. And I don't know if it's media created or fan created, but one thing is certain, if you didn't have four quarterbacks, or if you had like a typical fourth quarterback, some rookie that we just happened to bump into, undrafted, he's going to be on the practice squad. He's QB4. We don't even know the guy's name. But instead, they have a guy who we know. We've seen him play. He started as many games as Brock Purdy, for crying out loud. Yeah. So because of that, the Niners have created this in many ways.
No doubt, no doubt. Look, they signed up for this. They think they can handle this, and so far they can. What's head-scratching to me is just the vitriol and the energy that surrounds the Trey Lance conversation. Brings me to this question, and I'll throw it out to you. Like, whatever you think about Trey Lance, why do you think that? Why do you think whatever you think about Trey Lance? And you guys can all answer that. 888-957-9570. I understand if you've got an opinion about the idea of Trey Lance. In other words, the concept.
Oh, yeah.
The draft position.
That's all of that is what we believe about Trey Lance.
But if you've got an opinion about Trey Lance, football player, what is it and how the hell did you get to it?
Well, it's based on what we've seen when he's been on the field, which has been 5 quarters last year, and a little bit more than that as a rookie, but not much more. And it's also what I've seen when I've been at practice, and it's also what you hear about in terms of media coverage or other things that, people who maybe aren't experts, and so you start to build this case in your own mind about what you think.
I just I'm somewhere barely north of no opinion. The football player.
Yeah.
I got all kinds of thoughts about the situation. But Trey Lance, the person, I have a phenomenal opinion of that. And then Trey Lance, the football player, I'm somewhere in the area code of no opinion. I have no, what? How?
What? How?
How would I have an opinion? How do all you have an opinion? Where did you get this? Did you buy it at Target?
Do you even watch football, Mark? I've seen 5 quarters of this guy.
I watched him in a monsoon in Chicago. I saw him for part of a quarter against Seattle when he lost an ankle. I saw him win a game against Houston where he did not have a good first half, and then he did fine in the second half, and Houston stinks out loud. And I saw him run around in Arizona one time, and that looked wobbly, but he was thrown in there for the first time as an NFL player. And then I've seen him come in for a couple of situations. He threw a touchdown in Detroit one time. Why? How do you have an opinion about Trey the football player?